Yo, what's going on, everyone? It's Brian and Jim here with Drink a Beer and Play a Game, and welcome to another episode of the Power Hour. I'm Brian. Jim, go introduce yourself.
And I'm Jim.
So,
hi, I'm Jim. I'm the other guy.
Shut up, baloney tits. Anyway,
baloney tits?
Yeah, it's like, a pair of tits made of baloney. Jim. I mean, there's only...
See, if I keep asking, but no.
Jim, there's only one way to prove the audience wrong that you don't have baloney tits.
That'll have to be saved for a special video.
So, Jim, it's been a little while. I think both of us are drinking something a little bit more on the hefty side. So, what are you doing for today's episode? I'll let you get started with this.
All right. I am actually keeping it very Pennsylvania. So, I am going to be drinking a big bottle of Golden Monkey from Victory out of my Chickies and Pete's anniversary cup.
Nice. And what percentage is that again?
Oh, yeah, the old bits. Comes in at a beefy, it's been a while, a beefy 9.5% alcohol by volume out of Downingtown, PA. A magical, mystical monkey whose golden soul glows with the wisdom of the ages. This radiant ale is rich in the spirited tradition of Belgian-inspired brewing. Our Golden Monkey is both playfully delightful and profoundly satisfying. Exotic spice from the east rounds out this global journey of joy. Get on board, this monkey's bound for glory.
I hate you so much. Especially the inflections.
Cheer. I'm getting better at this. I think I'm learning to read by doing this bit.
Yeah, I think you are. So, I am, mine is the Exit 3 from Flying Fish Brewing. It's a very bland-ass label, but what it is, it's their Blueberry Braggot, which is a honey ale brewed with blueberries. For most people who know beer, you probably never heard of a Braggot, and it's something I've been dying to try. So it's essentially a form of a mead. It's 15%, so it's strong as shit. And I have already had one of these, so it's really delicious. So if you're someone out there who just wants to drink something really strong, but nothing too boozy, this is a really solid option for you. So, yeah.
Also,
now
Jason from YouTube, yo man, saying hi already. So thanks for checking us out,
Jason. And Jason, don't worry, you can feel free to drop all the blubs on Jim you want throughout this podcast. So if you're watching on Twitch, I am playing, PlayerUnknown's Battleground, also known as PUBG. This site, we've been talking and playing about this game a whole lot. But Jim and I decided right before we're going to do a little bit of a wager. If I happen to get a crossbow in this game and kill someone, doesn't matter how, just as long as I kill him with a crossbow, Jim will have to finish an entire beer. And if I get punched to death or am within the first 10 people to die when you land, then I'll have to finish a beer. Just something to keep it a little interesting, and it might be a little appetizer to a potential drinking game I'm thinking of in the future.
Fucked in this game.
I mean, Jim, you don't really win drinking games other than,
Hey, I won the Superman one.
Yeah, but it was Superman.
Yeah. Don't take my small victories from me. And I had never played Titanfall before that night.
So damn right. So I just wanted to throw that out there. So if you are listening on iTunes or you happen to be listening to this whole podcast and we happen to jump over and I say, Jim, you got a drink, that's why. I'm not doing it for no random reason. But with all that being said, Jim, I will actually let you get started with the first topic since Jim set most of the agenda for today. So very proud of him. He put some
for once, yeah. I do it every fortnight, you could say. But first things first, we got our first piece of mail. Someone sent something into our P.O. box. I flipped open the envelope, but I have not looked inside yet. So for those of you who don't know, we do have a P.O. box. It'll be down in the description below for YouTube. It's Drink a Beer and Play a Game, P.O. Box 11537, Philadelphia, PA 19116. So if you have something you want to send us to review or just take a look at or whatever, send it our way. Why not? And look at... Ooh.
Yeah, and before Jim even opens it, just thank you right away for whatever it is. Doesn't matter. We really appreciate that.
Yeah,
That's
from
pretty
a
awesome.
Tom S. of Chicago, Illinois. So,
Nice.
yeah,
Damn.
man.
Thanks, bud.
And, a ColecoVision game. Super Action Baseball.
Son of a bitch.
Yes. So,
I still love it. But this will be one we definitely play. And if Jim's
yeah,
system
no,
can work.
hopefully it still works from when I did that whole marathon. So, it should. So, thank you very much. And you know what?
That's awesome.
And
dude.
this will be
No,
a dual
we
one, so
appreciate
we'll
that.
have Bri doing it with us, especially since it's a fan one. Ooh, and a note. Holy shit. Oh, look at this. All
shit.
handwritten and everything. Let's see here. Jim and Bri, I enjoy your sports game reviews and beer drinking ways. Sports video games don't get the love they deserve, and I appreciate you guys spending some time on them. Anyways, I like Jim's series on the ColecoVision, and I don't believe he had any sports games. Here's some Super Action Baseball for the review. Tom, the retro sports gamer on YouTube. Oh shit, we know that guy. Thanks, Tom.
Oh shit, dude. That's awesome. Thanks, bud. We we obviously did many months and many times of most of the NES sports games, and we've talked on multiple occasions. We would need to go back and finish off the miscellaneous. I think at this point it's literally like summer games and just whatever random, because we've touched on
TNC
golf,
Surf Design's
soccer,
got to do that.
tennis, but we're gonna go back, finish all the miscellaneous ones, and then we probably will start making our way up the 16-bit era. It gets a little tougher when it gets more modern, because obviously all you really have is Madden, NBA 2K, and NHL, whatever year. But we will definitely keep going back to sports. We're not completely abandoning it. So
Yeah,
thank you. We really
that's
appreciate
awesome.
that.
Seriously,
That's
thank
awesome.
you, bud. And go check out his channel too. We'll put a link below.
Yeah. All right. So, Jim, I'm going to let you keep rolling with the topics, since you wrote them all.
Ooh, this is a good one. So, the only beer topic for the night. Stone Brewing is suing Miller Coors over the rebranded Keystone Lights. So, the article, as always, will be posted below. And the long and short of it is... Actually, Brad, did you read the article? Did you watch the video?
Yeah, I read the article, and I've been seeing the photos.
Oh.
No, I didn't watch the video, but I've seen enough videos on this and pictures. So, Jim, you just jump in. Let me say my 2 cents. If I'm completely off from what I've seen, tell me. But essentially, Keystone, they've always had a Keystone, but now their can has the giant Stone label like across the can. So when you look at it, the majority of the thing you're going to see is Stone. And essentially, is it the head brewer or the owner,
like the co-founder,
of Stone Brewing?
something.
I can't remember.
Coke's his last name.
Yeah. So he's been going on a rampage, like saying, like, "Fuck these guys," they're hurting our label because they're doing this, and basically is trying, like Jim said, they're trying to sue them to get them to stop doing that. Now, this is kind of twofold. The first thing I want to say is Stone Brewing makes some excellent beers, and anyone who's into craft beer or even went to beer stores, their labels are pretty notorious. They usually have like kind of the Stone Gargoyle. That's from their more popular series, and they stand out. They're unique enough where I don't think they get by based on like a label with just their name. I don't think Miller Coors necessarily did this on purpose, and Jim, this is where you correct me if I'm saying anything wrong, but I don't think they did that like to try and get over on this particular small brewery. And let's face it, I don't think consumers are stupid enough to confuse Keystone Light with a Stone Brewing Company, their beer. And Jim, I know you have a soft spot in your heart for Keystone Light, but let's face it. Yeah, their quality isn't nowhere near the same. So, I don't know. I think it's a little blown out of proportion. Plus, and this is no offense, and I know this guy will never watch this video, but I'm going to put up the picture of the guy. I definitely thought this shit was from like the 60s or 70s, the way he looks. that just made me laugh, so I just wanted to throw that in there. But yeah, I think it's being blown out of proportion. I think it's a little bit of a okay, if they can prove that it's actually hurting their sales somehow, then maybe do something about it. But otherwise, it's probably not ruining you, and you don't need to freak out so much. So
I wish you watched the
kind of my
YouTube video.
2
It's like
cents on
4.5 minutes of his initial statement. And if you click the link below, please watch the video, because this guy is a tool bag. So he starts it off by making it look like he's some proud fighter for the craft brew industry, and they didn't sell out like to the other people, like, and they name all the other brands like Kona and Lagunitas and other shit that Miller Coors have bought out. So he's saying, no, we're staying strong. And he looks like every hipster brewer, like, he's so full of himself in the entire video. And then he holds up the Keystone can sideways, you know, where it says Stone. He's like, Stone back in Keystone. It says Key right above it in the exact same font, in the exact same size. It's not just trying to be like, oh, look at us, we're Stone Beer now. No. And here's another thing. Keystone Light's been around since before Stone Brewing. So if anyone had the right to the Stone name, you'd think just because of the time lapse, it would be freaking Keystone. And then the end of the article kind of went into how, basically, they said in the last fiscal year, like, Stone Brewing's up 12% and Keystone's up 20%. So none of them are hurting because of it. Their profits are up. Although one interesting note is that apparently Keystone, back in like 2007, tried to, I don't know if it's patent, I'm probably not using the right word, but tried to get, like, you know, to say grab a stone or have it as stones to be for their beer, and they lost that case. So that's one thing against them for that one. But outside of that, I think, oh, here's another thing. No, it's a publicity stunt. And you want to know why it's a publicity stunt? Because the second point that he makes in the video is saying this isn't a publicity stunt. So there you go. It's definitely a fucking publicity stunt.
I mean, Jim, you know, like me and you are both, we've said we're wrestling fans and old-time wrestling fans. Could this guy just be cutting a gimmick and trying to get his brand name out there even more as an excuse to, like, buy more of our stuff and just kind of going after it? Like, he saw an opening and was like,
yeah, I mean, he cut a promo in his little video.
And now maybe some people might buy some more.
For that audience, I'm sure
Brewing.
It was good, but oh god, it just annoyed me to no end. Maybe because I'm a little invested personally with Keystone, a little more than I should be, but it still just rings of just so,
yeah,
it's not real. It's not real to me.
Now, yeah, you and I mean, we might disagree about a lot, and I don't.
36 cans for $18, Brian.
You have
36
a boner
cans
for them. That's, yeah, it's a little bit crazy. However, listen, Jim.
Yeah.
You can do that, or you can support local Lionhead and get it even cheaper and better tasting beer. But the point is, you know, because I don't think it was done on purpose, and I hate people who throw fucking hissy fits for no reason, and it sounds like this is what that guy did. He's throwing a hissy fit. He's trying to make a point out of something that's not legit. Yeah, kind of get over it. If he can somehow prove that the demographic that would buy Stone Brewing beer is not the same demographic that would buy Keystone. I'll tell you that right now.
God damn it.
Meh. Oh, Jim, about to
run over anyone who knows beer, especially craft beer, they're not going to look at a Stone Brewing and be like, oh, that's a Keystone Light. Or look at a Keystone Light and say it's Stone Brewing. Like, come on. To say grasping at straws.
Yeah, so obviously this will be its own segment on YouTube, and if you're watching it, we appreciate it, but we're going to definitely post this because we want some more of the hardcore beer community to really weigh in. If this really bothers you and you really think this is taking away, I'd love to hear some interesting arguments other than the atypical, like, well, fuck it, Keystone's bullshit. Right? Put your opinion of the beer itself out of it. Do you actually think this was done on purpose?
And also thank you to Snarkcast once again for sending this to us in the first place. Because he sent it to us probably a week and a half ago, and the story's blown up since then. So it's like one of the bigger stories in beer right now.
Yeah. Yeah. And for all you head brewers out there, if you're
Don't
going to post
don't sound like a
something
nerd.
against
Let
the
your testes
major
drop first.
breweries, don't look like this guy. That's all I'm going to say. Yeah. So, yeah. All right. Go ahead, Jim.
All right, so the next one up. This is going to be another one we have said many times before. Big fans of the Angry Video Game Nerd, so a review that always stood out to us was Hong Kong 97. And there is actually an article that I found, it was posted randomly on Twitter by someone, that people actually tracked down the one-man developer of the game and basically like asked him about it. And the long story short of it is he's like, I don't get why people keep asking me. I don't care about this game. Like, he basically, obviously with the Jackie Chan and whatever the leader of Hong Kong, China was at the time, you know, being the final boss and it being like one level with one song looping, he was like, I tried to make the worst game to just try and make fun of the video game industry. And somehow by word of mouth, it just got spread around and became this like cult thing. So yeah, actually, kind of basically. So the guy's name is Yoshihisa Kurosawa.
He's kind of like, just stop.
It's a pretty interesting article to read. It's not overly long, so it won't eat up a ton of time. We'll put the link down, but it's definitely one that if you ever had an interest in that game, check it out. It's a pretty fun article. But yeah, it's just funny that like it's obviously such a low effort thing, and he's just like, yes, because it was low effort.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's like, no shit, it's bad quality. I did that on purpose. Alright, so I want to... That is an interesting article, and, you know, definitely go out, read that. If you have a strong opinion of it, you know, let us know. But this kind of leads me to something I've thought about. Do you think purposely, I feel like it's happened now for a while, especially with our generation growing up. People search out really bad shit and try to cling on to it and make it.
Yeah, like it's called unique, The Fucking like, Room.
Oh my god, I found this awful thing in it, but it's so awesome because it's so awful. You know, do you think like that's a more and more current thing that's going on?
Oh yeah, or Rocky Horror with its cult following.
I mean, shit. If you could technically say from a film industry, Plan 9 from Outer Space, but the biggest difference with that, yeah, but like at least, I mean, Plan 9, what you had there is Ed Wood legit wanting to make a good movie and putting his heart and soul into it, just didn't have a budget and made a shit show that people came to love. Rocky Horror is a little different because it's just they have legit production quality and whatever, but no, I feel like nowadays it's like the cool thing is finding that game that, you know, how many YouTube channels out there are dedicated to these, you know, like you said, you mentioned the Steam thing, that just do have the most fucking awful games, and it's like, well, what's really the point?
I mean, it's the same thing. Like,
you know,
this kind of thing only really works, like, especially with the end of movies, where it's a person trying to make a good movie and failing miserably. So the Plan 9s, the Troll 2s, the shit like that, and like that's why they're awesome. That's why a thing like for me, like Sharknado never worked because they were intentionally making something bad, right? And then, you know, it's nerd bait almost. And people are like, oh, don't you see how bad this is? Like, yes, that was the fucking point. That's why it's not funny. Like, okay, maybe I'm being hypocritical because I love Thanksgiving, but it's still just like, this is like Thanksgiving with a budget, I guess. But, I don't know. There's always going to be that section of people out there with, I guess it's a little less with games because a bad controlling game is so hard to really get behind as mindless entertainment. Like, a bad movie you can chew away an hour and a half and be like, oh, that was funny. A bad game, you actually have to put effort towards it, so I don't think that's legitimately, unless you're making content about that, why it ever truly like catches on to the masses. Like, people don't sit around and have Superman 64 parties. I don't know, where's my goddamn invite?
Or do they and we don't know about it? But no, Superman 64, perfect example. You know, the nerd has made jokes about, but he legit created his channel to warn people about shitty games to avoid. and it ended up with the opposite effect. Like prices for like Jekyll and Hyde and all these other shit, they skyrocketed because people were like, "Oh my god, I need to go play it. It really is that bad." And it's one of those things. It speaks to, I feel like, I don't know what crowd's larger. The one that will hear a game is amazing and go play it.
It was definitely just a funny kind of thing to look at, and just a weird kind of thing with humanity, I guess.
For whatever reason. So, it's very, very interesting.
Yeah, that's all I got on that one.
Yeah.
Nope.
All right. Okay. So yeah, let us know what you think, and if you or anyone who's played Hong Kong,
yeah, if it's possibly as bad as it says. Keep going into the next topic,
how it is,
which is going to be.
We know it sucks, but give us some thoughts on it because we'd love to hear
what do you
some
get
more firsthand accounts.
You got? Sucker. All right, so.
Yeah.
Topic of microtransactions has been a bit of a hot topic lately. Well, probably the last 3-4 years in gaming,
little
especially.
Bitch was hiding in the corner.
So,
sorry, John.
they're not going to go away anytime soon because Activision made more than half of its revenue in 2017 off of microtransactions.
Can't say I'm shocked. We've driven this microtransaction like every other YouTuber probably down your throats way too much. You know our opinion of it. We can kind of get it. Games are more expensive, and they're claiming to make back their budgets. This helps them. Yada yada yada. I'm basically only at the point where in the article that we posted, the main game, it seems that, well, not the main game, the one that has the biggest press is Battlefront 2, I'm sorry, and that has but Activision, they're obviously showing, Call of Duty World War II, and to be honest, I haven't played the new Destiny, I played the old one, but with World War II, that microtransaction never bothered me because the things that you can unlock, these crates or, whatever care packages, whatever you want to call them, you can earn them by just playing the game. Now, granted, it takes a long time and there's a lot of randomness and you're probably not going to get what you want, so they kind of make it easy and say just pay and you'll get what you want. They're, for all intents and purposes, cosmetic, except they do release free weapons to the game that you, once again, can unlock. So that game is a weird one where they still give you the option where it is possible to unlock the shit the right way and free. They just say, okay, you're going to end up playing a lot more. So I don't care about that. Me and Jim have said multiple times, the shittiest thing about microtransactions are if it's giving you a competitive edge, especially in the multiplayer games. But if it's strictly cosmetic and people want to pay for that shit, have at it. Of course, I come from one of my favorite systems, if not my favorite system, being the PS2, and those games back in the day, you'd have everything be able to be unlocked by just playing it, so you got used to that shit. And now it seems like this is really cheap.
In Call of Duty, like when you do the crates and you get a weapon,
I hope games don't
unlock a higher level of the weapon than you already have. So,
not unfinished,
and they will have like a little attachment or some kind of extra power. Like there's some little good thing about having them, but it's nothing really game breaking.
Like Battlefront 2.
Yeah, the numbers don't lie, man. Like
even though you could,
Activision brought in 7.16 billion, and over 4 billion came from microtransactions. So, holy shit. It's a model that's not going to go away as long as people are buying it. So, yeah, it's never going away. So, I don't know if we should stop bitching about it or just hope that game developers do it. Well, not even the developers, it's the publishers who push it. So, just hope that they get a little less greedy than, say, what Battlefront 2 did.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sure.
I mean, here's the deal. They're never going to stop, as you said, pushing it. But, you know, if people decide I'm not going to pay for it, then... Oh, shit. There's a guy in the building with me. Ha! Got him! Oh, Jim, you're going to be so mad at this one. But, yeah, no. They...
Probably not.
They're not... The consumer is always the ones that will drive and make that decision for these companies. So if you really, instead of bitching, if you really want to make a difference, obviously just don't buy it. That's easier said than done. At a minimum, just don't buy those microtransactions.
Yes, Mass Effect 3,
Maybe
because
that'll
it had
kill them.
day one DLC for
that
a
probably
major
won't
character
happen, so.
for some major plot points in the game. Like, the game
I mean,
was
Jim, let me
definitely
ask you,
playable
is there-
without that character, because I didn't pay for the character.
We're obviously
But,
not.
yeah, it would have been
as
nice to have
willing
experienced the
spend
entire
money on a
full
game, because we
story in the
realize how
game for
ridiculous
a
that shit is.
series I really
But
loved at the
has there
time,
been a
but
game
I was like,
where
yeah, this is a
it's
dick
had
move, so I'm not going to buy it.
microtransactions that's pissed you off because you actually really wanted something from it?
Basically on disc DLC.
Oh, shit.
No, it was on disc DLC that was built into the game to be part of the game, and they put it behind a paywall for the one character. So it's
wait,
part
it
of the
was
game
day
that unless
one
you
DLC
unlock the character by buying
that
it, you would have never experienced that part of the story.
It was a part of the
which I
story,
haven't.
or it was... That's what I'm confused about. So was it
Now maybe like
actual,
the greatest hits version,
if you
or maybe
didn't
if it
get
had
it
a...
ever,
I
then
doubt it
you
had
would
Game of
never
the
really
Year.
get the full
It had
story,
some
or was it just
controversy for the
expansion
game,
of the
but
story?
yeah, there's some version that probably has it all unlocked, but I played the game. I'm not going to go back. I had my fill. I don't have time for RPGs anymore anyway, so maybe one day, but I don't know. I have enough other shit to play in the meantime.
Huh. Yeah,
It's
that's
true.
a dick move.
Hoo-hoo! Ha-ha-ha! Might have seen a picture online.
You've had enough. Jim, you don't have enough time to play anything. Which, speaking of, I think we need to address a little something that's transpired in House D. Napoleon. So, Jim, there's going to be a picture right here. I'm going to send the same picture that Jim sent me. So, if you've followed our podcast, you've probably heard this conversation. It sounds like a deja vu. Well, last year, I forget when it was, Jim sends me a picture of him getting the Wii U, and he got bamboozled into a terrible price. And I know he's going to defend it, but regardless, I think right now is going to prove me even more right about back then, because he is now, for his birthday, his wife has picked him up the Switch.
At the
Now,
time,
what I
you
wanna say right off the
saw
bat is,
Fire Emblem
I give
Warriors,
Jim so much
Mario
shit
Kart 8
because
Deluxe,
he's not allowed to
and
play games
Retro City
as
Rampage.
is. He doesn't have time, whatever. We're not going to get into all that, but he doesn't play games.
Go on.
Okay, you're going to get a system, fine. You're getting the Switch. He has the argument that, now he can game on the go, yada, yada, yada. That's all well and good. But what 3 games did I see in that picture, Jim?
Not yet. I will be getting it.
So here's my number one issue. The Switch, and if you're a Switch fanboy, you're going to get mad. So if you want to tune out right now, I understand. The Switch has essentially
in my
2
defense,
games for it that
in my
are really
defense,
worth playing.
Mario Kart,
And
it was a
you know
new
what
egg
they
deal,
are.
and Mario Kart and Fire
Now,
Emblem were part of it.
Jim does have Breath of the Wild, but only for his Wii U. And Jim, I assume, did you get Odyssey since that picture was taken? Okay. So, honestly, if you're getting it would be like back in the day if you picked up Xbox and didn't get Halo.
Oh, I never played it on the 360.
It doesn't make sense, but whatever.
I never played it on anything until now.
Go ahead. Okay, so that makes more sense about the Fire Emblem. Mario Kart, I'm more mad because, once again, you have it for the Wii U. And what was... Oh, yeah. This is the one that really pissed me off. Retro City Rampage. Because, did you ever actually beat that from the 360? What'd you play it on? God damn it. Alright, so that pisses me off even more. So, it's a good game, but the fact that you're buying it for the Switch just infuriates me because it's like, at least if you showed me a Switch and you had the two main reasons to get the system.
No, many valid arguments in there.
Especially Mario Odyssey, because I've...
You know what? Mario Kart 8 I would have bought again, just so I can...
Still
like, I have buddies who have a Switch, and they didn't have a Wii U,
like Jim,
so this lets me play Mario Kart with them, so I'm perfectly fine with having it.
8 hours a week, tops.
Also, to further piss you off, I may
Jim,
have bought Rocket League
for
it as well.
I want to hear your thoughts on what I just said. And if you agree...
Yep.
Well, I know you're going to disagree, but I want to see you
I
defend
did not suck!
what I just said.
Incorrect. Fake news. Oh, yeah.
God damn it, Jim. Goddamn baloney tits. Are you goddamn serious? You sucked on the Xbox. Now you're going to suck on the Switch. Because it's game friends of mine had,
so I can pick it up and play it online with them now.
On the Xbox. And now
do it right away.
And now you are going
I get my
to
time.
buy it for the Switch, which I hope you...
Because that's the beautiful thing about the Switch. I can pick it up when the
baby's
baby's asleep, turn it on, play for a half hour to an hour,
once again,
turn it off, and go back to being
went out and purposely bought two fucking games that are not Mario Odyssey, which is...
And I will be eventually getting Mario. It's not like I'm not going to get Mario, so... I'll eventually get that. I'll eventually get Mario and Rabbids. I'll eventually get some of the other games, so... Yes, I am.
But you're not allowed to play games. That's the whole point. Yeah,
Oh, what a horrible punishment.
You just
I'm not going to say I'm not going to do that.
It's very disappointing. You ain't getting rabbits. Who are you kidding?
No, I'll pick it up, but won't be playing as much as
podcast,
I've been.
I'm going to timestamp this shit. In 1 year, Jim will still not have rabbits.
Bayonetta, Mario Party, when we do videos on Wii games.
Jim's going to go out tomorrow and purposely...
It's backwards compatible with the Wii.
Jim's going to purposely go out tomorrow and buy it. But,
Upscales to 1080.
But, Jim, I mean, I'm pretty sure you have, once again, proved Daddy right that your Wii U price now is much worse because...
But we can,
you know you're never picking that up again, right? What do you pot?
Yeah, I'm gonna make money anyway.
For now.
Flawless argument, bro.
Number one, listen, Jim. Let's
right. Part of me loves to support you. So
this site only does classy games. All right, like Slaughter Sport. We don't do no Wii games. So let's get that right out the way. And then we'll get all of our videos pulled off YouTube because God forbid you do one Nintendo game. So, yeah. I just had to bring this
Remains to be
up.
seen.
So
Remains to be seen.
Jim has continued to waste his money on these systems.
I'm loving it.
Well, what's great is I know if I get... Eventually, I am going to get the Switch. Nope. I'm just going to get it dirt cheap. And by the time I get the Switch, I give it 4 months before I've played better games and more games for it than Jim will have had it this whole time.
All right.
And we'll do a whole video on it.
What, the next one? Oh,
Jim,
switching
that's
ahead.
why you're not even fighting it right now.
All right, so from Forbes.com, the article is Nintendo
All right,
Switch's
well,
best
I hope
secret
you do enjoy
is
it,
being
and
obsolete.
if you do get Mario Odyssey,
So,
I'm just going to
once
steal
again,
it. The next
article
time
will
over
be
your house, I'm
below.
just gonna steal
And
it
the
from
long
you,
and short of it is,
that's just all
Nintendo
we're
is
gonna
finding
do.
all this success with the Switch because they're
All right, so
keeping it simpler, and they're not
speaking of
trying to
Switch,
compete
I know
now
we're
with
jumping
the
ahead a
other
little bit, Jim,
companies
but
and
I
trying
feel
to do
like
what they
it's a good
do.
transition into
They're basically
one of the
doing
topics you
fully
put up,
doing
so
their own
you
thing,
wanna go ahead and
even though
touch
it's
on
getting
it?
some games ported to it because of how successful it is. But
No, I jumped
for the most part, they have its own gimmick. It has its own games. I am assuming you just got killed, and yeah, so it's doing its own thing. It's keeping it cheap, and these other companies making all these AAA games for these super powerful consoles, they're not making the money back that they would be, because they have to put so much money out into these AAA games to really push the hardware. So it's almost a law of diminishing returns on that end, whereas the Switch has a purposefully underpowered system, but it's portable. You have a real full gaming console in your hands, which is it's kind of cool when you play it because it's like, wow, I'm playing actual Xbox One games on this little tablet almost. And that's really the success behind it. By being obsolete, they're raking in the money. It's already outsold the Wii U in the 5 years that was out. True.
Well, number one, the Wii U is a piece of shit. So, no. This article, the biggest issue I have with this article is the Switch wasn't the console where Nintendo decided being obsolete was the way to go. They've kind of always been obsolete to a degree. Because it
was actually more powerful than PS2.
Except for the Super Nintendo. I feel like the Super
kind of
Nintendo
hamstrung it a little bit.
Maybe the GameCube were the only ones where they were quote unquote attempting to compete with like Sony or whoever at the time, Sega. N64 I don't think was truly trying to compete, graphically, certainly wasn't trying to do it sound wise, but GameCube tried a little bit, and in some games it actually succeeded better than the PlayStation 1, but definitely couldn't go PlayStation 2. Fucked it up. Yeah. So, but basically since then, even the Wii, the Wii wasn't trying to compete in terms of output of how it looks. It just was the gimmick of the controller. But the games felt and looked dated as all hell, but no one cared because when you buy Nintendo, you're trying to buy first-person or first-party games. You're not buying it for a competition with Xbox and PS and PlayStation. So I just don't like the fact that it's making it sound like the Switch is a unique system, that they finally cracked the code on it. What I will say is, I think they're giving Nintendo a little too much credit. I mean, I'm sure if Nintendo could get completely up to current gen, they would. They certainly have enough funding. I think they just know their bread and butter, as I said, is they're going to be the first-person titles. If they didn't release a Mario and a Zelda game the same year that the Switch came out, I don't think these numbers even do a quarter of what they did. Especially with, the Zelda game coming out as a whatchamacallit. My brain's not working right now. But if that didn't happen, I don't think you see, like I said, the numbers aren't even comparable.
Never.
So you got to realize, you're buying those properties. You don't really care about the system. So that's my only thing. Nintendo will always be viable and always make a shit ton of money as long as they have those things. And for some reason, not that they ever would, but if they didn't go along or somehow they decide to start sharing Mario and Zelda with Microsoft and Sony, then you might not see anyone buy any more Nintendo consoles.
Yeah, and I mean, at this point, it's almost proven that for
Nintendo,
it comes down to marketing. Because
exactly.
You see
So that's my
that
point.
with
Like, if you
horrible
wanted to really do
marketing,
a
they can
comparison,
still
you'd
sell
say,
13
okay,
million
let them get those
consoles with the
properties.
Wii U.
Oh, you won't?
You have some
Okay.
good
Well,
marketing
then
and a
no.
good gimmick.
Being obsolete.
You
is
sell
not
14 million
their best
consoles in
kept
10
secret,
months.
or their,
So
secret
the
that's
Nintendo
keeping them
fanboys will always be there, but
But-
if you just make it accessible,
Yeah, no, more
that's
power to 'em.
what it
If you
is.
don't
Like
have to
the
try
Wii was
to compete,
accessible,
and you can
completely
work off
underpowered. It was
first-person-
just a barely
first-party
souped up
title. Keep
game
making the best damn
cube.
first-party
The
titles
Wii
that
U
you always
was
have.
underpowered, and it was. I think the Wii U, like, it'll be looked back on as the thing that kind of led to the Switch being the Switch, but it was just it wasn't there yet in design. And then the Switch is just selling like gangbusters. But yeah, you're right. It's basically been since the Wii that they stopped just giving a fuck about competing graphically with everyone else. Skyrim, Doom, Wolfenstein 2 is going to come out for it this year, I think. So,
Yeah. Yeah, they realize that's not their market's never going to be graphics, and that's why their biggest third-party title right now for the Switch is Skyrim, probably, which is a 6-year-old game.
yeah, and I mean,
Or-
it might
I
do
don't
a
even
thing at the very worst, like with the Wii U, where the Wii U kind of had like ultimate editions
but I'm saying,
of
like, Skyrim
1 or
will-
2 year old
even with those
games.
other
Like
ones,
the Wii U
Skyrim
has a version
is,
of
like, third-party
Tekken Tag
title.
Tournament 2,
People would
but
actually
it has
give a shit
all the
about it now,
DLC
the most.
on the disc. So
Because
it's
quite
basically
honestly,
like a Game of the Year
if
edition
they
of it.
do release any
So I can
third-party
see it
titles
going more that
against, Xbox or PlayStation, the people who would buy those games probably gonna still buy it for them. They're not gonna like go only on the Switch. So
Yeah, it's also Forbes, and it's not like it's gearing itself towards gamers. It's fucking Forbes. It's a business, website. So
yeah, yeah. So no, like I said, it's a typical kind of
yeah, pretty much. Not
misleading
really all that much
article,
to
but
say.
it
I
is
guess, on the
it's
subject,
interesting,
but
and it's
an
something
interesting
that
article.
If you didn't realize, then you might be more surprised by it, I guess, would be the word.
Yes. The old classic on here, ripped from Bill Burr's Monday Morning Podcast. It is Overrated, Underrated. And
Yeah.
I'm getting too good at these. And the subject
know
for
what you
this
think.
week is going to be the Super NES controller.
We're not exactly
Considered by many to be
anything,
one of the
we're
best
just
controllers
stating
out there. Do you think it's overrated or
obvious with
underrated?
those, I
So,
think.
Brian, go ahead.
Yeah. All right, Jim. So going back up to our overrated, underrated. Jesus Christ. I'm going to trying to think. I think it's underrated, but also now I'm trying to think in terms of general how it's perceived. I don't know if anyone actually hates on it, so that's my only problem. I think, and maybe I'm just not in the right crowds. I mean, I generally think people consider the Super NES and the probably PS2 or 3 controller to be the best controllers of all time. And I think me and you have talked about this, and we're pretty much on board with that. And it's pretty hard to argue those points, but I think you'll see a bigger push for people saying that the PS2 and 3 controllers are better, so it gets a little bit more. So I would just say it's underrated because at the time, the NES controller, I'm not even going to go pre-NES controllers because there were joysticks or the goofy shit that half of them didn't work or this or that. But the NES controller was the first, in my eyes, legit controller you had. And let's face it, it's fine. We grew up with it. We're used to it. But that shit was not ergonomic at all for your hands. So I didn't really love it in the sense of its design. It was simple. It did the job hell of a lot better than everything that came before it. But it was meh. The Sega Genesis controller, the first one that came with the system, it fit your hand okay, but as we found out with many games that required more than 3 buttons, that was a shit show of a controller. Obviously, you could end up getting the 6-button controllers and all was right in the world, but still, I'm just talking original controllers. The Super NES controller, the thing I think that is underrated about it is it never needed a modded version of its controller to work with later games. It had every button you needed. Having the top bumpers where it was perfect. And honestly, it would continue to go on. That layout would go on to be the format for all future controllers. Still to this day, if you look down at your buttons at Xbox or PlayStation, the configuration is kind of based off of that Super NES design. So that's saying something. So I think just the fact that it kind of grandfathered in the way you play games and use the
they don't hold up well.
And that alone makes it underrated. But on top of that, that was a goddamn comfortable controller. That dog bone shape, no real hard edges on it. Like, I think it was pretty damn.
I'll agree that it's probably their best controller. And you know what? The shoulder buttons
are
revolutionary, genius design, and yeah. It had everything you needed right off the bat and never needed to be upgraded. But you know what? The buttons are mushy as shit. That controller is goddamn overrated.
I had to say that to piss Jim off.
Have you ever tried to play a fighting game? Have you ever tried to play a fighting game with those shoulder buttons?
Nintendo's history, Super NES, without doubt, I think, is the best controller they've created. So, yeah, I'm going to go underrated.
4, but I still played it when I was a kid.
They're mushy as shit.
Not a piece of shit. Still playable.
So here's the deal. Let's give some history to people. Jim got his first Super NES 3 years ago.
Did for years. I'd still beat you with the 3-button.
I'm just throwing.
I'd beat you with the 3-button.
Yeah, but I actually had it. I grew up with it.
We've never played that on video.
Plenty of fighting games. Just like any controller at the time, you completely got used to.
We've never played Street Fighter.
Even your beloved Genesis, which that first controller was a piece of shit, and why fighting games sucked on it until you get the 6-button. It was.
No, these are legit.
Not really. Play Street Fighter 2 without the 6-button controller and tell me it's okay. Yeah, and it sucked. It sucked. Jim, we have video evidence. I beat you. What are you talking about? Look, I'm playing the clip right now for people. You see that? That's Jim. This is me. So, yeah, no, Jim, the mushy Jim sounds like he just got a shitty controller. Plus, I know Jim has gotten a lot of cheap third-person controllers. And if you're buying the controllers right now,
mushy.
I'm going to tell you, they're not like they were
it's
fresh
valid.
out of the
Mushy
box.
buttons are a big drawback.
Whatever year it was, 93 or... I don't know the
Look, I'm not saying it's a bad controller. I would never say it's a bad controller. It's a great controller, actually. But people jerk off on that controller.
Now, if you're a
maniac,
it's not.
I would put
the
PlayStation. Hey, here's one for you. I put the PlayStation 2 controller way above the PlayStation or the Super NES controller,
which is what I think we're basing.
I put the GameCube controller above it.
It was absolutely fine, no issues. So if your only complaint is mushy,
best analog stick ever.
You're not valid. Yeah, you're just not valid. It's cool.
Little difference. DualShock is overall. The DualShock 2 is probably the best controller overall.
I listen, me and you. I think now you're being ridiculous, but I think the. Oh, goody.
People would, though. A lot of people would.
Everything for all games ever. I think me and you can at least agree that PS2, whether you call it PS2 or PS3, I know there's some purist. Me and you don't have enough experience with PS3, but PS2's, would you argue that that's the best controller? yeah. So we agree with that. I'm not trying to say the Super NES is right there. Well, like I said, for me, it'll always be. Oh, of course they would, but that's going to be your diehard Nintendo fans.
Which I'm not.
That,
just mushy.
You know, they probably hate PlayStation altogether, so of course they're going to say that Super NES controller is the best ever. Like I said, what I will say is historically, that had. Now, I'm not trying to dig too deep, but that had the biggest impact because, like I said, that template, the way the buttons.
No, I know people are going to disagree with me on this because
biggest
everyone
impact really on
Super
gaming
NES controllers. So fine, I'm going to get ripped apart.
Still use
buttons are
that
mushy.
kind of
You can
layout
accept
today,
that.
so you can't really just ignore that in terms of historical significance.
Yeah.
So yeah, so Jim's wrong once again on one of these.
Comfortable as hell. The only drawback to that's
one
that
of these
stupid
days we'll
fucking
get a
C
topic
stick. They
day
just made
that
another
people will
analog
agree with
stick.
you on.
It would probably be one of the best controllers of all time.
You're always wrong, but it's okay. That's why you're blub blub. So wait,
the favorite of my Nintendo.
Nintendo.
Favorite of Nintendo. Buttons aren't mushy.
So
buttons aren't mushy.
Truly, your favorite Nintendo controller is the GameCube? Huh. Okay. Interesting.
All right, keeping with overrated and underrated. What do you think is the most overrated or underrated console? You can just pick one. You don't have to do one of each.
But yeah, no, if that wants to be your favorite, that's cool. No. Hey, man, we all have our own opinions.
Yeah, we can keep it simple.
Listen, some people got to live in France, and that's got to be their favorite country. I get it. You know, everyone has their own opinions. That's cool.
I can go first if you want.
So, all right. What's the next topic? Because my laptop.
All right. So, if I had to say, probably for the most underrated console, it would be the original Xbox, because when it came out, like people just waved it off as, oh, it's fucking Microsoft trying to. They don't belong in the video game industry. They're gonna just try and milk it for blah 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 blah. But besides just being ridiculously powerful for its day,
I don't know.
It had a ton of great games and a shitload of good exclusives for it too. Even outside of Halo, like you had your Blood Wakes, you had.
Why don't you
Shenmue
go first?
2,
Yeah,
you had. It had. Granted, it had a lot of games that were like sequels to what you had on, say, the Dreamcast, but I guess that's the deal it had with Sega. So you had all those great Sega titles like Panzer Dragoon and Jet Set Radio Future. You had Forza, which competed, it's neck and neck with Gran Turismo. It had a ton of platformers, a ton of shooters, a lot of cross-platform games. And honestly, with the cross-platform games, it was probably the best one to get for all the systems. It integrated Internet and Xbox Live the best out of all of its consoles. You could play your own music off the system for any game that you're playing for the most part. And it's a really revolutionary system with a great library, but it's just the kind of system that just never got the chance or got the love that it deserved in its day. No. And actually, I can do an overrated too, unless you want to go first or next. And if I had to say overrated, gonna get some hate for this one, but it'll. What do you think I'm gonna say? You have an idea?
Yeah. No, that's a very good. I like that. As far as underrated. All right, so maybe I'll go. No. Go
actually, PS3 is a good. No, PS3 is a good console. I'm gonna say, on a technical level, for being overrated, it's gonna be the Dreamcast.
I'm already mad at you.
And trust me.
But go ahead.
I love the Dreamcast, but it was around for a year and a half. It only had 200 to 300 some games,
like that,
and I'll give it credit for the most part. It doesn't have that many duds,
Super NES,
but it doesn't just have the library to hold up to all the other games that people just put on this crazy high pedestal.
You're gonna say,
you can say it had the potential to be up there, but it was never given the chance, which was its own fault. But it was also extremely prone to piracy, which killed it. The build quality is shit. Like, it's so hard to find a fully good working Dreamcast at this point. So as a piece of tech itself, it's a piece of crap. And the controller the controller design became what the Xbox design would be, but if you play it now, the analog stick isn't responsive at all. The buttons just hurt your fingers. They're so just hard plasticky and just like pointy and like, I hate that fucking controller. So, yeah, and the cord coming out of the bottom, which, why? So for everything the Dreamcast did right, it just did so much more wrong to be on that pedestal. Like, I don't care that it has Shenmue and Skies of Arcadia. Like, that doesn't make it, one of the top 3 systems of all time. Which, that's going to piss off Jason in the chat right now, because he just said Dreamcast is underrated. It might be up there.
So I was thinking about Dreamcast as overrated, kind of for the same reasons you were saying.
They are bushy.
Now, granted, what would be interesting if we kind of did a pound for pound, which console has the least amount of duds per game, like overall. I think that one probably, yeah. But yeah, no, I can see your points. I don't know if I would completely say it's overrated, because I did love the internet features on it, and
Neo Geo?
some of the games I really love. But yeah, no, I can understand your reasoning, so I won't hate on you too much. Not like your stupid mushy button argument. Overrated. So I'm gonna go 2 of these because I'm trying to get my mind right. But the one is strictly based on because nobody played it, because nobody could fucking afford it. Nothing technical, but the fucking goddamn. Why is my mind drawing a complete blank? Neo Geo. I know on a technical level, great thing. But what fucking
$200
is
a game
console if 1 out of 100 kids can even afford it? And where I grew up, nobody could afford it. And it's, yeah, even to this day, you can't affordably collect it. The controllers, I get you're trying to emulate an arcade, but they're as big as a fucking table. So, I don't know. I think that thing was overrated, and I get people who have it are going to love it, and even if you don't love it, you paid $800 or something for it, so you're going to say you love it. Once again, yeah, technically, I'm sure the games are top-notch. Arcade, cool. But at this point, if you're in this day and age, you get yourself the MAME, you upload your arcade counterpart, and you emulate the shit out of it, and you have just as much fun, and you didn't just break the bank for it. So I think that's overrated just strictly on those reasons. As far as underrated, that's a tough one. And I'm probably gonna have to go with you know what? I'll throw one out there that is going to be weird to say. I don't believe it. It's underrated for the wrong reasons. PS3. Number one reason it's underrated, it was pretty much everybody's first Blu-ray player. So you got it for that. It actually has a pretty goddamn decent collection of games.
Even though it eventually won.
Resistance. God of Wars, like those are some pretty underrated games, and while it didn't quite ever meet the level of multiplayer ease of access, I'll say, as a 360. I feel like a lot of games always made sure they came out first for 360. They released shit first for 360, this and that. So I kind of feel like PS3 didn't even have a chance to compete in terms of that, which right now we're kind of seeing the reversal of. Yeah, I mean, we're seeing the reversal of with the PS4, where there's a lot more games now that will release shit earlier on PS4. So for those reasons, plus the ease of backwards compatibility for PS1 games, it was very
PS1
odd.
3 is a good one. I mean, even though it
but
did
just the
eventually
fact that you
win
could boot up
the
a PS1
war between that
game
and the
and
360,
your
like it
PS3,
did eventually
and
outsell
then
the
all of a sudden
360,
had HD,
but that was like
pretty
so
much
late in the
HD quality
lifetime where
for some of
that
those
was
old games was huge because I have a huge PS1 collection, so that made a big difference for me. So yeah, I think that's a system that everyone knows is pretty good, but you know, let's face it, how many people had it, even if just for a Blu-ray collection, and if you actually played the exclusives, you're like, damn, it's pretty good. So yeah, I'm gonna throw that as my underrated.
Yeah, I like the.
But once again, I
obviously
feel
the way
like
their D-pad in the
it's
360
skewed. It's
had.
so
That's
skewed
a
because
legendarily bad
of
D-pad.
what
But
I just said.
you know,
the
no one
Blu-ray
played it
thing.
for the D-pad.
It
obviously,
probably wasn't
you know what
for.
I mean? Actually,
game.
give me one
also,
second. I gotta make a
very
sissy.
big thing with the PS3. The controller is. I love the 360 controller, but hey. You have a rechargeable controller you can use with your PS3, so you're not going through a million goddamn batteries and you don't have to buy a separate detachable battery pack. So I like that controller a shit ton more. Mm-hmm. Oh, god damn it, Jim. Alright, so for those of you watching me on Twitch, I can't hear shit in the game when me and Jim are talking, so I know I'm down to the last 20. These motherfuckers are probably all at Malta power, or probably right there, so I'm just bitching out right now. Oh, there's a guy. Got him! Oh, shit! Headshot! Oh, shit, there's a care package. Literally right there. Let's see if I can,
Of course you would, Bri. Of course you would.
get a BS.
You rat bastard.
Nope.
Would they actually say that?
Oh, I see dudes in the
That's
distance.
a solid run you're having there. Oh, yeah, one more thing about the PS3. The original one could play PS2 games, but then they took that out with later releases.
Mad. I just got a healthy headshot from quite the distance away.
I think it was too much tech inside there, and the
some would say it
the
was
stuff
quite
they used
sexy.
to have it be PS2 compatible would wind up overheating the system.
I mean,
so
I'm
hard
down to
drives would
16
fail.
Jim. This is
Like
pretty
I had a
epic
fat
moment.
PS2 at one point, and the hard drive just burned up. And then I eventually got my Slim.
So, you know, some goddamn support for your boy would be nice. Oh, did they?
They I mean, they all let you do
Why did you
PS1,
do
but maybe
that?
the Slim did it a little better. I don't know.
Ew.
That
Yeah, I think we all had that issue. I have both the fat and the slim. I forget why I did that, but was it the slim that would allow you PS1 games better than the fat one would? Yeah, I think that's why, but alright. Alright, so I'm down to 13 guys, Jim, so if I'm a little... Oh, I got fucking killed. Alright. I shouldn't have went after that guy.
okay?
Alright. Next one. So I'm actually going to throw this at Jim. This is something I came up with right before we started. Going back to our which is better bit. And I want it to be... I think it's semi-easy. But as a series as a whole, not an individual title versus individual title, which is better, the Resident Evil series or Silent Hill series? So I'll start this one off, since I probably much bigger of a horror fan. Well, I know I am, but that's not the point. So obviously Silent Hill 2 is easily regarded as one of the best horror games, depending on how you feel against some of the Resident Evil ones. The original Resident Evil trio is my favorite games of all time, especially if you do the remake for GameCube. For 4, I know most people actually prefer Resident Evil 4 versus some of those original ones, but to me that went too action-oriented, and the games after that have been kind of downhill, and now there's so many Resident Evil games. But still, on the whole, I think Resident Evil clearly wins it. Silent Hill had a much more psychological, alone in the dark feel. And Silent Hill 2 obviously hit out the park. I don't have any experience with games past Silent Hill 2, even though I have a bunch of them. It's just one of those game series where I have and I need to get to. But from everything I've read and what I understand of the games, it's just not going to beat Resident Evil for me. I do like psychological horror.
Yeah, I'm going to agree. Definitely for the series overall, it's going to be Resident Evil.
Yeah.
Because with Silent Hill, honestly, the only people truly care about are the first 3.
But
now they're 3 of the best horror games ever made, and 2's a goddamn masterpiece.
Zombie battle.
Okay, thank God.
Like
I thought
Resident
my camera
Evil
should
give
for
to
a
you,
second.
and I don't know. I got much more invested with the characters in the world of Resident Evil than I did ever for Silent Hill. So because of just the numerous other titles.
All right, the video might be a little...
takes the cake for me.
But... Oh, do not. Come on. Oh, Dicey's still going. All right, we're back. Okay. But, yeah. Yeah, the first 3 Resident Evil... the first 3 Resident Evils I absolutely loved. They're my childhood. But I would probably say as pure horror games, the first 3 Silent Hills are better. But I still have more fun with the first 3 Resident Evils. And 4 is still a fun game. It's a great action game. 5's a little flawed. 6 is garbage. 7's a whole different direction. So for all the spin-offs, for all the series in general, it's Resident Evil. Resident Evil's better.
Yeah, maybe...
If we ask this question in like 2004, there'd probably be a ton more people who would say, "Oh, it's Silent Hill. Resident Evil's garbage." But
come on, Bloney,
as time went on, it's Resident Evil. It's not a horror game. Yeah, I agree with that. Like, it's a great game. It's one of the best, action horror games of all time. It's just not survival horror.
Yeah, and to Jim's point, yeah,
you probably fucked up.
Well, what's actually funny is,
safe guess.
I forget what year Resident Evil 4 came out, but man, for a lot of people, Resident Evil 4 nukes the competition when it comes to a lot of these. And once again, I do love it. It is a great game. It's just, to me, doesn't have that feel of a Resident Evil game, which is my number 1 issue with it. Jim, sorry, I might have fucked up. I jumped in a house, shot at a guy. Don't have any more ammo. He might be chasing me now. But anyway, yeah, so... Yeah, Resident Evil 1, 2, and 1 and 2, I think, had the horror aspects probably the best. But even by 3, Nemesis, I still say, and I'm sure we'll do this in a future video, but like, you know, it's easily one of the best video game enemies ever, because just that persistent of like, you're already dealing with shit, and the fact he could bust his ass
I want to see if that whole battle still being fought,
like
or
I never had before.
People just don't care about Silent Hill anymore.
I
don't think there's been a Silent Hill game since 2012.
Typical. This is just a horrific setting. Whereas, you know, the Silent Hill games obviously were just pretty much all horror, never really got full action. But then, like Jim said, a lot of them apparently start shitting the bed. So I'd be very curious. You know, hopefully, if you have the opinion, it's, you look at the series as a whole, and you're not just trying to say like, well, it's just Silent Hill 2 is better than everything. You know, but I'd like to see your guys' opinion.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Well,
this one's going to be quick.
Yeah. Well, and so honestly, what made me think about it
releasing a wired controller for the Xbox One.
I wanted to do a horror
based on the old original Xbox Duke model.
Said that in my head,
and if you don't know it by the Duke, you know it as the gigantic controller that everyone hated.
I don't even know if there's other horror franchises you'd want to try to compare versus those two. Not saying there's not enough other horror franchises. I'm just saying those are probably the two most well-known.
Damn it!
All right. So
that's not how it works.
Oh, Jim, it's your Hyperkin story. My absolute only guess is there's some assholes like you, no offense, that have this really I said no offense, so you can't get mad, that have this really weird niche that had this really weird niche that like,
yeah, like,
oh my god, I loved it. What did we talk about at the beginning? Things that were so bad that people love. And that was a controller. You know, I have my old Xbox here, and for a lot more than I would like, some of these more recent videos, I've had to use that controller because that's the only one I have for the original
Maybe,
Xbox.
But even I don't get it. Like, no one liked this controller.
I'm used to it.
No one.
I'm not.
Everyone
I would never
always
in
bitched
a million
about
years
it.
say it's even
Maybe there's
okay,
some like ridiculous Halo 1 fanboy out there who's playing the Master Chief Collection. And it's like, oh, I'd be kicking a lot more ass if I was using a Duke because that's what I grew up with.
There must be enough people out there.
That's the only thing I can think of. There's no reason to go back to
bring back, or maybe it's just a big joke. I don't know, but I just think it's a very bad idea.
Yeah.
Of all the Xbox.
And I like that controller, but there's no reason to ever re-release it.
I really just don't get it. Maybe some idiot out there wants a piece of nostalgia and thinks it's okay.
I like the dick.
I don't know. You're the one that I think would understand this more than I would.
Take that out of context.
Yeah. I mean, it would be like re-releasing the N64 controller. There'd never be a reason to do that.
2 years, if not sooner.
Yeah, well, we've established you like it for the dick in the middle. Yeah, that's easily that was the worst decision I think Xbox has ever made, and that's saying something as far as just general their systems, their controllers. I don't know why they did that. How long, I mean, if you don't have to look it up, but if you had to give a guess, how long before they gave a better
definitely. I mean, that controller left a really bad taste in a lot of people's mouths, and it was hard for the system to recover after that because they were just like,
point,
it has a shitty controller.
We kind of talked about it when the Xbox came out. It is an underrated system. Plenty of people, you know what it is like if you don't give gamers another option, you're just going to deal with it. You know, we talked about it.
I don't get it.
You know, DLC with microtransactions, shitty control. Like, you know, if you really just want to play something, then even something like a terrible controller like that, maybe that's part of the reason why that system never got its, you know, its credit. Because
I see it. Look, if they're going to do that, they might as well bring back a fucking CDI controller so I can finally play my CDI and not spend $80 on a fucking controller. I know no one likes the CDI, but I have one, so I want to play it. It was $8, and I have a game for it that I can't play that only costs $10. So I just want to do a video on a goddamn CDI game.
You do some great shit, and then you do this, and you obviously got that one guy, that Jim in your department, that you need to give him something to do, and he comes up with
it comes with built-in S-Video. No other systems had built-in S-Video.
Jim, did you see what I did there?
Thunder in Paradise is a great FMV game.
Yeah, but nobody likes a CDI. Jim.
Real professional. All right,
you
let's go.
Only picked it up because it was in a Goodwill. I just can't wait till Jim actually gets a game or two for that. And it's like, this system's actually underrated. It's so good. The point and click is really on
I got
point. It's so amazing. You son of a bitch.
All right, so
speaking
top selling games of 2017.
Actually,
First, Call of Duty World War II. Second,
I posted. It's actually the last thing. It's not the last thing, but I'm jumping ahead a little bit. I posted another article by Forbes.
Yeah, I didn't listen.
I meant for us to jump to this when we talked about Forbes earlier. But
all right, spoiler alert. Forget the last 30 seconds.
So Jim, I don't know. Can you pull that up real quick?
Number 10.
All right, so
maybe my wife has a point.
Just go through the 10, and then I want us each to give
number 10, Mario Kart 8. Number 9, Super Mario Odyssey. Number 8, Star Wars Battlefront 2. Number 7, Tom Clancy's Ghost Recon Wildlands. Number 6, Grand Theft Auto 5. Number 5, Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. Number 4, Madden 18. Number 3, Destiny 2. Number 2, NBA 2K18. And number 1,
can't even get that.
To the surprise of no one right now, Call of Duty World War II.
So go ahead, Jim. Just go from 1 now, you motherfucker. Son of a bitch. So I think
it came out in 2013.
This is probably one of the most surprising lists I would have expected to see from this past year. And I'll tell you my thoughts, and I want to hear what you think. So number 1, I mean, we can kind of run down one by one, but the fact that Grand Theft Auto 5, the fact that this is still on this fucking list, and that game is gazillion years old, is amazing. Now, I'm one of those people who, on my PS4, I went and bought it. It was on sale, and it is a friggin' great game, but just the fact that it's, 5 years old now, at least? It's old as balls. And the fact, now, granted, Grand Theft Auto games, I think you can't argue that they have the best shelf life of any game kind of ever. You know, not counting people who still play, like, Super Mario Bros. I'm talking, like, the more modern people will go out and still pay pretty top dollar for it. That series has always had games that have the best longevity. And this one in particular,
cap them.
They still support the shit out of it. And it just seems to be no end in sight for that fucking game. So, kudos to the fact that it's still selling like hotcakes.
Sure, it will.
But just in general, the whole list surprised me. Call of Duty World War II shocks the shit out of me. Jim and I have talked. We've reviewed the game. We do like the game a lot. We love that back to boots on the ground. And shit, I guess it proved our point that, like, you know, fans really didn't like all those other ones where it was jumping and this and that. And we knew the game was going to do... Oh, I have to try to cap this fool, Jim. Hold on. Hold on. This will be edited out. Oh, he's getting out. Killed him with a grenade.
I guess Call of Duty's not dead after all.
Sorry, people. I'm back. All right. Shut the fuck up, Jim.
It's not what it was, but it's not dead.
So, yeah. The fact that Call of Duty, you know, we definitely, even us were on the opinion, like, it's going downhill. The sales aren't
just real quick, what do you call it? Like, Mario Odyssey's impressive because it was only out for 3 months.
And we get that.
So the fact that made the top 10, that's a holy shit right there.
The NBA
like, I get it, it's still Mario, but like 3 months?
Mario Odyssey, Breath of the Wild, that's still saying something. And it also speaks to the fact that World War II is just a goddamn good game. So that's crazy enough, but yeah, it's definitely not dead.
Probably
clearly.
Same with Breath of the Wild.
And on top of that, no. What was that one? The Wildlands Ghost Recon? Is that what?
Yeah. But yeah, to get back to your point. Though, fucking Tom Clancy's Wildlands, like, I barely heard anything about that game in general.
Shocked if it didn't, yeah. Yeah, but come on. Like I said, literally if you owned a Switch, so take every number of a Switch, I guarantee you the rate of people who own the Switch.
That's another one that I was just like,
that game has to be above 85%. Okay. It's something probably ridiculously high.
But yeah, like, it's crazy. Like Mario Kart 8, that's another game that's old. It had a re-release on the Switch, which was, this is its first year. So it's not like it had, you know, the entire year to have its install base. And it still was number 10. Like, that's fucking crazy for a re-release.
I don't know. Yeah, go ahead, sorry. Still don't hear nothing.
You know what?
And you know what? I've looked at it.
To be fair,
it does look interesting.
To be fair,
but the fact that
if I didn't get it with my deal, I probably would have bought it again because it's that good a game.
Yeah. So yeah. It's, to me, that one's a little less crazy because they got fools like you who had it on the Wii U and will buy it again. So, Jim, I have to keep using you because you fall in the demographic of these people. But yeah, but my point is that Mario Kart is, there's never, I mean, I don't know the history of all the Mario Kart games.
Had a good year.
Mario Kart's going to be a fucking great game. It's only gotten better, and no matter what system it comes out on, it's going to keep selling like hotcakes. So that's another one. Would never shock me if the Switch had maybe a little bit more of a robust, you know, library than it probably would have done as well. But still, there's like not many games to get for the Switch, so it makes sense. That one makes sense. The GTA 5, the World War II. That shit is the craziest to me of that list, and it's just, you know, it was also.
You know what? If they have these 2 games come out this year, and they might not have it this year, but it'll definitely be the year after. When they get Metroid Prime 4 and the next pure Pokemon game,
it's
holy shit.
Very optimistic because I feel like a lot of people were kind of thinking like the video game market might not be holding up so well, and it might be going downhill, but clearly, like, from this year, it's looking good. Now,
Possibly.
granted,
Like,
next
I was
year,
never a big Metroid
I don't know what the
Prime
Switch
fan,
is
but-
planning. I can't imagine the game sales will be anything close this year because you had such amazing start titles
Zelda.
or release titles.
Yeah.
But, you know, we'll see what they come up with. Pokemon for sure, I think, will sell. I think Metroid Prime 4 will sell less than Breath of the Wild.
I don't know. That's what I'm wondering,
That's my
too,
prediction.
because, like, they're still kind of supporting the 3DS. They're still
And
kind of
here's
supporting the
the deal.
3DS, but,
Metroid,
like,
it is good,
I don't know,
and I
man.
know
I don't know
people
why
have
you
been
wouldn't just put it
clamoring,
on
but I feel
your
like the
other,
crowd that
newer,
likes
more
that is
mainstream
less than the
3D
crowd
or
that
portable
likes,
system. Like, it's got to be for
Legend
the
of
fucking
Zelda.
Switch.
And, you know, obviously none of them can compare with Mario, but yeah, I think if it sells as much as Breath of the Wild, I think that would be huge, but I don't think it will. And, oh, goddamn, Pokemon, that obviously is going to sell. Like, I'm curious, do you think if they release a Pokemon game for the Switch, will they do it for their other handhelds, like the same game?
Yeah, and I honestly think, like, the 3DS's days have to be
That's
numbered.
going to be
like, it's a 7-year-old system at this
That'll-
point. Had a great run, but you have the new portable hotness, which is also your new console hotness. So there's no point.
Here's the deal. I would
Hotness.
I would be much cooler with Nintendo. Like, if the Switch is where you went, well, not if. The Switch is where you went. So, I get, like, you know, your handheld shit is off the chain and you still make great systems, but just commit it all to the Switch and just have all your future consoles be the handheld so you don't need to buy both, because I feel like you're kind of double dipping your audience otherwise.
Yeah, I agree there. Like, I
Stop
think
saying
the
hotness.
DS as a brand, its days are numbered. Like, there's just no need for it anymore with the Switch
Yeah,
out.
I don't know. I think that's commit to one, don't do both. Then, you know, people that's also the other thing. I think people are going to start double down on the buying of the Switch if you knew you didn't have to also buy another new handheld console that could potentially come out. I think that's hurting them in the long run. Unless they maybe plan the Switch is like kind of a one and done gimmick.
PUBG was one of the highest selling
traditional.
games of December.
But if they have the technology to do what they did with the Switch, like, why not just stick to that?
Yeah, just on Xbox alone, it was like number 7 for the month in December. Like, it's always shitload.
But yeah, no, I mean, that list in general, it's for the most part. Now, the only thing I'm curious is if it had included. Oh, I just fucked myself, Jim. If it had included digital downloads, especially PC and shit, where would PUBG have fell on that? Because, I mean, just on the Xbox, now granted, just on Xbox alone,
Yeah, I agree.
got him! Woo! I don't know where the fuck I'm getting shot at, Jim. Oh, I got fucked up. I killed 2 guys. But no, like PUBG, this preview for Xbox, like I said, it's maybe I'm throwing this out my ass, but I think it was like 10 or 15 million in the first month. And that's just a preview game. So that's insane, not to mention the PC, what it sold over the year. So it would be interesting to see those numbers comparatively, because I think that and Fortnite would make a big run and make it on that top 10 list. All right. So yeah, let us know, guys, of that top 10 list. Were you shocked like us with some of those? Is there any of them that you think they obviously can't have missed of anything because it's just based on numbers, but what shocked you the most? And do you think it's a good sign or not? All right, so the final topic, unless Jim comes up with something else before we end, kind of obscure, but let me explain it. I asked Jim what are some of the darkest / meanest moments from a video game that he can recall. So let me give you a for example. Games like Fallout 3, I believe it was. Yeah, it was Fallout 3 and Megaton. You come to a crucial point in that game where you can either disarm or detonate a nuke. If you detonate it, you kill everyone in the town, and you get some terrible karma, and you're really bad in that game. Or you disarm it, and you're the hero that saved everyone. So examples like that, or what I'm going to use as my example, and it's fucked up. So for those of you who used to play The Sims, that game I fucking love to death, and I'm sure we'll have topics about in the future, like underrated, overrated, yada, yada, yada. But that was one where some of my one ex, we would play it. Like, it was one of those good barrier-breaking games where you didn't just need to be a video game nerd to enjoy. And after you finally played it enough times, and you put in cheat codes, and you have the craziest mansion with 1 million fish tanks and all kinds of crazy shit, you start dicking around with the game. One of the things you found out is, you could do little tricks to more or less kill the characters in the game. So you'd find, like, goofy shit. Like, I'll never forget the one game, in the game, the people I created had a baby, and it was something like I left the game on fast forward while I went and got, a fucking Hot Pocket or something. And I came back and I said, oh shit, I forgot I left it on fast forward. Well, it's like in the game, child services came to take the baby because I ignored it. So I was like, oh shit. So then I locked to stop the child services person from coming to the baby. I put a wall around it, and it killed off the person eventually. But when I realized you could do that, I was like laughing my ass off. I was like, that's pretty funny. Like, and that's also pretty goddamn dark. So, me and my ex and me and my one friend who played the game all the time, like, you would create people you hate in real life in the game, and you would do the same thing. You basically torture them.
No, it's not that I never did anything bad. I'm just having a really hard time remembering any specifics.
The little Sims themselves will look
there's
at the
definitely games
camera
with, like, parties and shit like that.
Language. They're like, "Mi tabula," and they're, like, so hungry, or they start wetting themselves. And if you put them in a room with nothing in it, eventually they just pass away. So it's like, that was probably the darkest, meanest shit. But also, it was, we were, 13, 14, and yeah. But that was, like, one thing in particular that I always, like, kind of stuck out to me. I'm like, man, that's fucked up. So, yeah, I figured that would be a little interesting topic. Jim better not ride the fence and be a little bitch and be like, I never did anything bad. Because I'll call him out for some shit otherwise. Like, has there ever been a video game, like I said, I used Fallout as one of the examples, but there's plenty of games that give you some really hard choices. Like, shit, Resident Evil 7. There's a point in the game, you gotta choose between your girlfriend and this random chick Zoe to save with the antidote.
It's so fucking weird because, like, there's been, like, going back to the Mass Effect games. I'm
not saying, like,
you have to make these tough decisions for who you're going to save
moments
or
in
who
games
you're
that
going to die.
made you feel like,
or you could save everyone, for
example.
But there's been some people I'm like, what, fuck this battle. Here, you go off. You go die. You go off and die
Modern Warfare 2,
and then I'll just, move on to the next chapter. Like, I've done that a lot in a ton of these games. Fallout New Vegas, I kind of bitched out because anytime I'd get to one of those crossroads kind of decisions, I would make 2 save files so I could see both things without having to play through the game all over again. So that was kind of a time-saving thing.
Now, I know you're immune to shit because you've seen some dark shit in your life.
Partially for achievements and partially just to see how everything played out. But, yeah, I never, like, I don't know, I guess when it comes to decision-making, I never had a tough time. The things that always got me more were when, like, a character that I really loved in a game would, like, just get killed out of nowhere. And it'll be a cutscene. It'll be one of those things where it's nothing you could do. But it would happen to them, and then that would be the thing that would really get to me. Like, any decision I made, I'd be like, fuck this guy. It's a computer. I don't care. It makes my life easier. But it's really when it's, like, a story-driven thing, that's when it gets me.
But were you doing that more for achievements?
Unfortunate.
Okay. So yeah, you never.
Yeah, I mean, like today I was playing Rocket League and I accidentally scored on myself, and I was just like, man, I'm letting the team down. I'm letting myself down. This is just a bad feeling. But yeah, I mean, like, hey, I was trying to defend and I did a shitty defense job. So yeah, maybe. But that wasn't intentional though, so I don't think that really counts in this discussion. Can't really think of any other games or people. Nope. Nothing's come to mind. Certainly never anything with you, Bri.
Hey Jim, what about all the times you've played multiplayer games and some of your actions have led to the death of your teammates? What about those? I mean, because that happens all the time with you.
I may have done that once or twice. But you know what? Here's one. Here's one. Playing either Army of Two or Left 4 Dead with our old roommate Matt, because that motherfucker would always just do some dumbass shit, and I'd be like, you know what? You can stay back. You can die. And I would just leave him to the wolves. I'd let a tank, fuck with him. I'd let a spitter get him, and I would just run to the exit of the level and be like, well, see it.
There's certainly going to be a video out on PUBG.
He was holding me back, Bri. The strong survive.
Darwin,
Darwin, I Ching. Things have to happen here.
I was more referring to
the cream rises to the
any
top.
Multiplayer game, like when one of us are getting.
But then again, I didn't feel bad about it. So I don't know. Maybe it's a bad topic for me. Maybe I'm too much of a dick to be feeling bad like this.
And then you're like, what? Once or twice, my ass.
Yeah, it could be some mental thing, but oh well.
Such a bad team,
right.
Jim. Woo! Just killed a guy. Yeah, I think that could be a problem. Dude.
I want to see what the people below say, though.
Fucker. Yeah, no. Like you said, the best I could think of was that Sims thing, but that was.
God damn it!
That was. I don't think of many other. I think. Like any game like you, I probably in Fallouts, but also because I'm a very big on like completing games. I should say like completionist, where I want to see every ending. So
I think that's
always
it.
Save to see both endings of something. So I'm kind of like you in that sense. So
I have nothing. So before we sign off, I just want to thank the Retro Sports Gamer again for sending in this ColecoVision game, and we will be getting to it.
But yeah, no. I just wanted to throw it out there. I want to see how many people answer this shit honest, because I threw some. Oh, hold on. Right about. Yeah, I just want to see like.
Yep, and doesn't have to be a thing we keep.
I think we all
let us know. Like, give us a little letter saying, "Could you please send us back?" And we'll review it. and We'll send it back to you. We don't care.
But I just want to see what you guys have to say.
Delicious. I do have to pee again, but very good mouthfeel. Lot of head to it, but very full-bodied feel, nice and tasty. Nothing overpowering, smooth drinking beer, and can't argue with 9.5% alcohol.
Yeah,
so
we do appreciate that.
I'm going to say I'm like crazy buzzed right now, but I'm feeling good.
Or if you ever want us to review anything
definitely
else,
a must
we say it a
drink.
million times. Don't just reach out to us. We usually always get back to everyone, so please. Let us know what. Absolutely. So, other than that, Jim, how was your golden monkey? How did it treat you? Goddamn female. Hey, Jim. All right, so
cheers.
We'll still wrap this up, but as a
all right, yeah. Bonus, so I'm here watching on my phone as Brian dicks around this fucking crossbow.
I just need, I'm gonna go balls out, towards people, I'll probably get myself killed. I just gave up a scar to pick this up, Jim. So, you know what? I just need to see, can I get
Make
a
him
kill
count,
with the
boy.
crossbow? I might get shot right away. But we have a little wager going. So before we continue this will be a bonus video potentially.
I had a delay.
Thank you guys for checking us out.
Yes!
Obviously, if you
Yes!
talk about
The face of the
topic, let us
line.
know. And as always, guys, cheers.
Yeah, I'll get on. I'll play a game
All
or
right,
two.
now on to the bonus, Jim.
That's what I'm going to do. Cheers, guys. Have a good night. Thanks, Jason, for hanging out.
Yeah, like I said, I'm not going to. Obviously, I don't. Oh, fuck! I only have 4 bolts, but it's okay. Oh, someone's shooting at me. Fuck was that coming from? Damn! I got killed.